Hi there, my name is Hector Lucas, and today I want to talk to you about the situation between CNN's Jim Acosta and the White House. Now, this story had a lot of controversy around it, especially regarding the intimidation and suppression of journalists and the media. So what happened? Back in November, Jim Acosta and Donald Trump had a back and forth during a press conference. Acosta asked Trump multiple questions regarding the migrant caravan, and Trump, seemingly getting fed up with this, asked Acosta to yield his time, and this happened.
They're hundreds of miles away, though. They're hundreds and hundreds of miles away. That's not
an
an invasion.
Honestly, I think you should let me run the country. You run CNN.
All right.
And if you did it well, your ratings
Let
would
me
be
ask,
much better.
if I may ask one other question. Mr. President,
That's
I was going
enough.
to ask one of the other folks.
That's enough.
Pardon me, ma'am. Mr. President.
That's
Now,
enough.
this situation brought up many talking points around Acosta putting his hands on the intern, trying to take the mic from him, fake news, press pass revocation, First Amendment violations, lawsuits, and attacks on the press. So I'm going to try to summarize all of this as best as I can. So after that event in the video, Acosta had his press pass revoked by the White House. According to a tweet from Sarah Huckabee Sanders, this was due to Acosta placing his hands on the intern. The tweet in question read, "President Trump believes in the free press and expects and welcomes tough questions of him and his administration. We will, however, never tolerate a reporter placing his hands on a young woman just trying to do her job as a White House intern." And then going on to say, "As a result of today's incident, the White House is suspending the hard pass of the reporter involved until further notice." Later going on to tweet, "We stand by our decision to revoke this individual's hard pass. We will not tolerate the inappropriate behavior clearly documented in this video." The video tweeted out by Sanders raised a lot of questions on whether it was edited to look faster than it actually was. However, BuzzFeed News put out a great video explaining while it was likely unintentional due to video compression, the video is distorted and seems sped up. And all this led to CNN filing a lawsuit against the White House. In this lawsuit, CNN stated that the wrongful revocation of these credentials violates CNN and Acosta's First Amendment rights of freedom of the press and their Fifth Amendment rights to due process. CNN also suggested that, if left unchallenged, the actions of the White House would create a dangerous chilling effect for any journalist who covers our elected officials. So is there a precedent to this whole situation? Yes. There is a case from 1977 in favor of Robert Sherrill, a provocative investigative journalist who was banned from the White House. It was said that Sherrill had gotten into a fistfight with one of the president's campaign aides and was a threat to the president. Because of this case, the law says you have to have notice, you have to have a chance to respond, and you have to have written opinion by the White House as to what it's doing and why, so that the courts can examine it, which didn't happen in this instance with Acosta. So, federal judge Timothy Kelly ruled in favor of CNN, giving Acosta his press pass back for 14 days. This, however, was not on First but Fifth Amendment grounds of due process, and said that the White House must establish new rules to justify taking away a press pass to cover the White House. Even with Trump saying that he would take away Acosta's press pass again after the 14 days had ended, the White House ultimately restored his full press pass. The White House did, however, establish new rules that say journalists will ask a single question and then will yield the floor to other journalists. Follow-up questions can be granted, but they're at the discretion of the president. The penalty for not abiding by these rules? Suspension or revocation of the journalist's hard pass. And that's where we are now. I had the chance to interview Dr. Lauren Lewis, a professor of media law and ethics at SWASU, and I asked him what he thought about this whole situation. Here's what he had to say.
I believe it was a violation of the spirit of the First Amendment, but probably not a violation of the First Amendment in actuality. Basically, the courts have said in a number of cases that the press doesn't have the right to gather information. It has the right to print the information or to broadcast the information that it does receive. So the way I'm seeing it is that the judge basically ruled that Acosta didn't have the right to answer any accusations. The press pass was simply revoked without any real reasons given to him other than what was stated to other members of the press. But I think that if it had actually gone to trial on the merits of the case, that it probably would not have succeeded, simply because, as I mentioned before, the press doesn't have the right to gather news, or it has not been acknowledged in the courts. The president has been sort of thin-skinned as far as the questions that are asked, or any questions that are raised about his performance as president, or about him or his family. Pretty much from the day Trump announced his candidacy, it's been a love-hate relationship between the president and the press. The press loves to cover Trump. Whatever Trump did led the news for that particular day, at least in the broadcast media. So the media picked out Trump as somebody to follow. And Trump, of course, has loved being in the media spotlight. I do think they tend to over-exaggerate, and I do think it is a problem because, once again, they focus on what he said or the outrage that happens over what he has said or done, as opposed to actually analyzing it. And I think that creates the problem when you just focus on the fact that he said something as opposed to what the impact might be.
So that's that. This whole situation has led to a lot of hotly debated topics. Now, whether or not it was actually an attack on the press is for you to decide. For now, we'll just have to keep an eye on how similar situations will play out in the future. Thanks for watching.